So question for all you folks out there. When was the last time a video game made you feel relaxed? And I don't just mean a game that provided a sort of an outlet for your aggression or your anger that you keep repressed in your 9-to-5 job. When was the last time a game made you feel healthier and encouraged you to actually pay attention to your mental health and physical health? For me, I remember playing Harvest Moon back when I was a wee lad, and it being a very surreal experience. There wasn't an enemy to overcome or kill, there wasn't a looming threat of danger or power-ups I had to manage. I was just given a plot of land, a cow, and told to grow it however I wanted. And granted, I ran into the ground pretty quickly because I was 8 and I had a very limited knowledge of economics and time management. But the point was that game provided this weird experience where the focus was on just doing things for the sake of being happy and what I wanted to do. And there's some other games that have struck me in the same way. Minecraft being, I think, the primary one from most everyone out there in the world. I don't think I need to go too much into detail about how those games sort of provide a relaxing and peaceful environment for players. They are open world, there's not really a set goal, you're given a lot of freedom with the creativity you can take, there's a lot of room for expression. But until this last year, I can't think of a game that wasn't a farming simulator or a sandbox game that had made me feel the same way that any of those games had before. But then came Ghosts of Tsushima, which I can say full-heartedly is the most relaxing and calming action game I have ever played, ever. I swear I'm not crazy. Let me explain. For those who aren't in the know, Ghosts of Tsushima is an action-adventure pseudo-historical open-world game set during the year 1274 in the Mongol invasion of Japan. You play as Jin Sakai, the nephew of Tsushima's lord Shimura, who is the only samurai left alive after the brutal initial landing of the Mongols. Based off the horrific and violent start of the game, you wouldn't expect this to be a very relaxing game, or one that fills you with anything other than sadness and despair. But this horrific tragedy that befalls Jin is exactly where the game needs to start, and we'll get to that in a little bit. At the end of the game's beginning arc, you are left with your first set of armor, a broken relic of your samurai armor. It's not upgradable, offers no benefits at all, and never leaves your inventory. You have to carry this around with you for the entirety of the game. As you're set out into the now Mongol-controlled island of Tsushima to try and free your uncle for the slim hope of taking back your home, you are constantly reminded of Jin's tragedy and how broken he, and by extension you the player, are. It becomes clear that the old samurai ways that Jin has grown up in are simply not going to cut it. Literally. Things like honorably facing your opponent in one-on-one combat are things that the Mongols will take advantage of to cut you down. Racing to challenge the leader of the invasion, Khotun Khan, results in a crushing defeat. You're just one broken man against an army. And so you and Jin evolve. You develop assassination tactics, ways to kill hundreds of enemies without ever being seen, knives to pull out of your sleeve if too many opponents are crowded you, poison darts. All these things clashing with the cultural norms of honor, respect, and glory. This is the crux of the game's narrative. Evolution, changing how one lives in order to survive and protect one's home in order to move forward in the face of tragedy. So, after all that, where do I get off saying that this is a relaxing and calming game? Well, to be fair, this game is not entirely relaxing. There are a lot of violent set pieces, but the game does have many relaxing moments. And I think it's important to look at that. We'll start with the obvious. This game is gorgeous. Take a look at even a snippet of footage from most gameplays, and you'll be witness to the game's stunning depiction of the island of Tsushima. From the golden forest to snow-peaked mountains to sprawling grass fields under wide open blue skies, hell, even in the places where the Mongols have burned and looted their way through towns and villages leaving only bloody bodies and stumps of arms, towns and villages can look visually stunning. Every trip I take on my horse between villages or missions gives me something new to look at, a new part of the land that makes me appreciate the years of work it took to make this game. And it's not just empty space hidden in this beautiful land. There are tons of side quests, hidden battles with Ronin, spots to compose haikus, spots to bathe in, and it's these things I feel really add to this game's theme of healing and rest. The haiku spots are some of my favorite things to do in the game. Each of them are set at a specific viewpoint, which then brings you into a cutscene where your only focus is the landscape around you, and then you are given a specific thing to focus on. It can range from things such as love, despair, hope, all things relevant to what Jin is searching for and dealing with on his journey, especially one very poignant one near the end of the main campaign. You're then given a choice of what line you would like to write, each bringing your focus in closer to a specific spot on the landscape. At the end, you hear Jin recite the haiku you composed, and then you get a nifty headband. Great. Now, I'm an English major, so maybe I'm a little biased towards enjoying these kind of things, but I really think that these things not only highlight the beauty of the game, but they're also the first example on this list of the game inviting the player to take a break, to set aside your worries about whatever quest you're on the looming conquest of mainland Japan, and to focus on what Jin, and by you vicariously through him, are experiencing. Many other things in the game invite the player to practice mindfulness through Jin. The bathing spots, areas that increase Jin's total health after you bathe in them, give you the option to reflect on where you are in the game's main story, and in recent events. Between this and the haiku spots, there's plenty of other room for pause. Also, after each mission, there's a long pause where it's just you and your horse chilling out underneath some shade, or Jin just sort of taking a moment to breathe. Silence is very key and pops up a lot in this game, and silence is not really something that you would automatically assume makes an action game better, but Ghosts of Tsushima uses silence constantly and to a great effect to its main theme's messages. Story beats and cutscenes are always taking a pause to let dramatic moments hang, and even intense action scenes don't back down from using stillness and silence to create tension and excitement for duels and standoffs against bosses or Ronin, or even the Khan himself. So why does Tsushima place such a clear focus on resting and reflecting? Remember that piece of armor from earlier, the one that represents Jin's broken state at the start of the game? Jin's journey revolves around changing, about creating your own hope in the midst of despair and loss. A large part of the story revolves around Jin creating the persona of the Ghost, this icon that becomes a symbol of hope to the people of Tsushima, who is untethered by the samurai ways and is actually able to do something against the Mongols. It is a symbol of change and departure from the old samurai ways. Jin's story revolves around changing, about creating your own hope in the midst of despair and loss. And just like in real life, the only way we can start to heal and grow from our darkest places is by reflecting, by taking the time to rest and to choose how we are going to move forward. Throughout the story and side missions, we see time and time again those who rush forward through life without taking the time to seriously reflect on where they've been and what they're going through will simply bring them more misery. Take for example the central conflict of the second and third act. As Jin continues to grow in infamy as the Ghost of Tsushima, a savior to the people, it brings him in conflict with his father figure Sakai, who remains adhered to the ways of Bushido, the samurai code. At one key point during the siege of a fort where Khotun Khan is supposedly staying, Sakai is eager to reclaim the glory of his people and fight with honor, a method that the Khan is eager to exploit, laying a trap for the remaining army. Sakai refuses to consider alternative methods that are dishonorable, leaving Jin to try and sabotage the ambush on his own, the result of which leaves him banished from the Sakai name. Whether or not Jin is morally in the right is up for debate, but the message is clear. The Mongols represent an unavoidable conflict, one that everybody on the island of Tsushima has to face in one way or another. Jin himself chooses to change how he lives his life in the face of that conflict and his loss. And that's important. I don't want to sound like the most pretentious and obvious person on the planet, but this year, out of many years that we've had, has been really hard on a lot of people. And never before have I seen so many people talking about just how hard this pandemic and life in general can hit our mental health. And let's be real, not many of us have grown up knowing exactly how to take care of ourselves, to live life in the face of unavoidable loss and hardship, and still go forward taking care of ourselves. Through Jin's journey, I saw something that I have never seen a game do. to teach a player how to be healthy, to do just that, to move forward in the face of loss. I know that there are other video games that deal with these themes of loss and grief and hardship, so I'm not trying to present Tsushima as the only game that does that. But I will say Tsushima is the only game I've played, personally, that has tackled this subject matter in an action game. Someone once told me that mindfulness and emotional intelligence are the most useful skills to know, and no one ever teaches it. I happen to agree with this sentiment. Especially lately, where the days stuck inside our houses seem to loop into the next one, and nothing ever changes, where life can seem like a circle of work and pain and hardships, only occasionally broken by a ray of hope, I forget that I have the power to take even just 5 minutes to just lay in my bed, or go on the porch, drink some coffee, and close my eyes for a moment. To step outside and to take a breath, to reflect on what I'm feeling, on where I am, what I want out of life, to wonder how I'm going to move forward. I'm not trying to say that all of a sudden playing an action video game has made me a haiku master and that I've ascended to a higher plane of existence. But this game and the amount of work and detail and love put into a message about what it takes to overcome the worst things that life will throw at you deserves to be appreciated.